morning. My name is Susan Reardon. I'm the staff hearing officer, and I call the meeting of Wednesday, January 30th to order. Wow, it's already the end of January. It's crazy. Today we have 2 items on our agenda, and I haven't received any requests for continuances, withdrawals, postponements, so we will hear the items in the order that they appear on the agenda. Under announcements and appeals, I have received a request from the applicant of a project at 2315 Chapala Street for the reconsideration of my conditional approval of an open yard modification that I took at the last meeting, January 16th. And I've reviewed the request, and due to new information that's been obtained since my action on the project, I'll schedule the reconsideration hearing for the SHO meeting on February 27th. And this new meeting date would allow for a new public notice to be distributed for that item. I don't have any other announcements or appeals. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the staff hearing officer on items not on today's agenda? No, seeing no one, we'll go to the first item, which is 426 Garden Street, if the applicant would like to come up to the table. Good morning.
Good morning.
Anytime you're ready, Stephanie.
Good morning. So today we're here to discuss an open yard modification to allow a proposed open yard to be on a second floor deck. So the existing site, 426 Garden, is a 2,500 square foot MC zoned lot, and it's outlined here in pink. So here we have the ground floor plan, and then here we have the upper floor plan. It's currently developed with a 2-story warehouse. However, the second story has been converted to a residential unit without the benefit of permits. And so the proposed project, thank you. The proposed project is to legalize that conversion of the second floor to a residential unit. Also, some site improvements are proposed, such as a new trash enclosure over in the back here, uncovered bike parking, as well as constructing a carport to serve as the warehouse parking. And on top of that carport would be the deck serving the residential unit and serving as the open yard for that unit. And a portion of the warehouse would be converted to a garage for the residential unit. The Architectural Board of Review did review this project on November 6th of 2017 and approved the project. The applicant then submitted for a building permit, and it was discovered during the building permit process that the project does require a modification because open yard in a mixed-use development like this is supposed to be on the ground level or on a deck no more than 3 feet in height. And this proposed open yard is, again, on top of a carport. So there are a couple of changes that have occurred since the design review approval, and those came from building permit plan check comments, such as the ADA striping over here. However, those kinds of changes are eligible for an administrative staff level review, so it's not anticipated that the project would need to go back to the actual ABR full board or consent board. So again, we do require an open yard modification for this project, and staff is supportive of it because 15% of the net lot area with 10 by 10 dimensions is required. In this case, that would be 375 feet. And this proposed deck is 396 square feet with dimensions of 22 by 18.1. So the minimum requirements would be exceeded. The deck is also a logical placement for the open yard. In this case, it opens directly from the bedroom of this 1-bedroom unit, rather than being on the ground floor, which is taken up by the warehouse parking and site improvements like the bike parking and trash enclosure. And then also the carport and the deck above it is as far away as possible from a neighboring residence, which is on this lot. So staff does not anticipate any kind of privacy impacts. The project is exempt from CEQA under categorical exemptions 15183. The parcel is in an archaeologically sensitive area. However, there were archaeological reports on file, so we did not require any kinds of technical reports for CEQA review. We did include a standard condition of approval related to the unlikely discovery of archaeological resources during construction. The project is in the demolition review study area, so the urban historian reviewed it and confirmed that this existing building and landscaping is not a historic resource, and the proposed project would not cause any impacts to any other historic resources in the area. The project is Tier 2 in terms of stormwater management, and finally, staff has received no inquiries about the project from the public via emails, letters, phone calls, or visitors to the public counter.
Okay, great. And I assume, since you indicated it went through plan check and then it was noted modifications needed, that transportation planning has reviewed this in terms of maneuverability and backing out.
Multiple times.
Okay, because Garden is extremely busy. It's designated as a minor ulterior, however you say that word. And with the gate, I know it's an existing situation. They're changing the use now, but with the gate and people stopping to wait for the gate open, that's all.
Yeah, transportation has looked at this several times. Originally, there were 2 parking spaces proposed here, and then they changed the design to accommodate ADA parking for the warehouse, and then moved the residential space into here. And so transportation has looked at this several times with each iteration and confirmed that this proposal is adequate.
Okay, and then if I understand this staff report, right? It was a little confusing on here, but the parking requirement is only 1 space for the residential unit, when usually it's 2 spaces because the amount of the floor area associated with the residential use is less than 50% of the total floor area of the building versus just the warehouse use, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, all right, thank you. Would you like to state your name for the record and provide additional comments?
Sure. My name is Rod Britton. I'm the architect for the owners.
Okay.
And just to go back to transportation, the gate has to remain open during business hours. So that's that was one of the comments from the
Okay.
transportation. So the gate will not be an issue during working hours, I guess.
Which is what?
Well, it's actually a private warehouse, so it will be 8 to 5, I guess. I mean, he's just storing stuff in there, so.
Okay, so 8 to 5, Monday through Friday?
Yes.
Okay. And then you've gone over with them the maneuverability.
Maneuverability, yeah. We can back out and get in and out of the parking lot, so.
Okay. Would you like to provide any additional comments regarding the open yard area? Stephanie did provide some insight, but in terms of your design thoughts on the location, like I said, Garden Street is a really busy street, and so there's noise, there's potential air quality, there's, what's the usability of that?
Well, we think it's, when we started this project like a year and a half ago, when we went through ABR, and we knew we needed the open yard area, and we did it in good faith. And that's what we came up with, and we were approved, and then, of course, we're in building permit, and it came up that we needed the zoning modification because it's off the ground. So we're just trying to provide an extra house in Santa Barbara, or extra residential unit in Santa Barbara. So.
Okay.
And this is one of the owners?
I'm the owner. So, I'm sorry, I didn't know where I was waiting out there. Pardon me?
You need,
Christine Feldman.
okay.
So we're talking about the green open space?
Yes.
And is
yes.
there an issue with the deck? Is that what we're
No,
talking about?
that's what we're talking about.
Okay.
Yes. So.
Yeah, we've had a discussion on it. I was just asking what design thoughts were gone into the location of the open yard area. Just since Garden Street is such it's a main arterial or a minor arterial, and there's cars pretty much throughout the day, and just the usability of this area. So when you look at the purpose and intent of the open yard area is to provide an area outside for the enjoyment of the residents, as well as to provide open space between different properties. So
Yeah, it would be great, because then you could really see a lot of the town if you went out on it.
yeah, it's just the noise. And looking at our noise maps, it is between 60 to 65 decibels, which is below the the identified target, or it's not really a threshold
And this is
anymore.
something we have to have?
No, and how we do this is that I talk and then I ask you to answer questions
Okay.
instead of interrupting of what I'm saying.
Oh, that's fine. I was just trying to catch myself up as well, so sorry.
Okay. So it's a 65 is actually the threshold for noise. And so it is below that, but still 60, 65 is pretty noisy. But a person who moves into this property, would be aware of that.
Correct.
For it.
And we're assuming that, people work during the day, we don't know who the tenant will be, so, but if they have a normal Monday to Friday job, then they'd be on the deck after the majority of the traffic's gone, and on the weekends too, when the traffic is much lighter, so.
Okay, great. Those are just my questions for right now.
Okay.
So I'd like to open the public hearing. I see no one, and you said you didn't receive any. We haven't received any comments this morning? No? Okay, so I'll close the public hearing. I did go out to the site, and actually I'm very familiar with the site because I drive up by
right.
it every day to and from work. So I am familiar with the site and just the street and how it backs up sometimes. And although not ideal, it does provide an area outside that is usable, and it's a nice size. It's rather large. And there's, due to the existing development and the size of the lot, there's not really any other places where you could put it, like over here where the
Yeah, it's only
Park.
10 feet wide, right?
yeah, well, it's almost less, based on the scale, it's about 9, well, maybe 9.5.
By the time you get the fence in there and all that.
Yeah,
kind of
so it's
stuff,
not, it doesn't meet the 10-foot minimum dimension, and it's not really usable because it's on the first floor. You'd have to go down and out and stuff. So if you wanted to use the outdoor area and have dinner or whatever outside, it is an appropriate spot, and future tenants would be aware of the inconveniences. And like I said, it is below our thresholds, so it is something that is supportable. But I do have concerns about that gate, so I will put a condition on the project that requires that gate to be open during working hour, or during...
This gate?
Yes.
The big gate, yeah.
Yes, that it remain open so as to minimize the impacts to the Garden Street.
Right, it actually might be on the site plan right now. I've got, several sets of drawings going.
Are you talking about can I talk now, or am I not allowed to talk yet?
Nope.
Go ahead. You can respond to that because it would be a condition, so I'd like to hear what you say.
So you're talking about the car gate,
Correct.
Right.
not the walk gate.
Right.
Yeah, because
So then the walk gate would be closed, but the car gate would be open, or
it doesn't...
During the business days,
Okay.
business hours, it'll have
Okay.
to be unlocked.
Yeah, the
it's
concern...
unlocked or open?
Oh, open.
Okay,
In
so
the
it has to be open all the time. Okay.
Yeah, the concern being is potential traffic impacts or conflicts and on Garden
And this would
Street.
be something that the tenant would have to be aware of because they'd be down there every day.
It could be on your lease, part
Right.
of the lease that they would be aware of it. And yes, so as a property owner, you would be required to inform them, because if it wasn't, then the violation would be towards you as the property owner. So with adding that condition and then the archaeological condition, I can make the findings outlined in the staff report. I am just going to add a word just noting that the area on grade is mainly paved. So
yes,
that,
correct.
in terms of open yard, landscaped areas, it really isn't feasible on this site. So I will add that, just that minor insert into the findings. And with that new condition and the revised findings, I can approve your project.
Great, thank
My action is appealable to the Planning Commission within 10 calendar days, and they also have oversight authority of all my actions. And if they felt that this warranted additional discussion before them, they could call it up during that same 10-day appeal period. And if either of those would occur, Stephanie would contact you.
Okay,
Okay?
great.
Great, thanks.
Thanks very much.
Okay, what are we doing next?
We wait 10 days, and then
So we'll go to the next, you can go out. The next item is 406 Corona Del Mar. If the applicant would like to come up. Good morning.
Good morning.
And actually, I would like to note before we start on this, I was involved on this project earlier on, just because I also supervised the plan check process, and it was submitted for building plan check, and became aware, I think at that time, that a open lot area mod was necessary. So I did review it during the plan check process, but since that time, I've stepped out and I have not had any involvement. So I just wanted to state that for the record.
Okay. I'm Mark Mirando, agent for the owner.
Okay, we'll let Stephanie go, and then
All right, so as you just said, we are here to discuss a lot area modification. In this case, it's to legalize as-built construction, providing new floor area on a lot that's already non-conforming to density. The existing site is a 10,000 square foot R4 zone lot. It is highlighted here in pink, and it is in the coastal zone of the city. It's currently developed with a 2-story, 8-unit apartment complex and 2 detached 4-car carports, so that totals 8 covered parking spaces in total. And then the carports have attached storage and attached laundry. There it is. The apartment complex was originally approved with these 8 units in 1948, and contemporary base density would only allow for 3 units, but at the time 8 units was allowed, so this is considered non-conforming to density. So if we can flip to the existing. Thanks. So in 1961, the city approved a room addition that we see here for apartment 4. And that addition also included a covered porch here. So again, at the time, there were no requirements for something like a lot area mod because 8 units was allowed at that time. And then if we can now flip to the proposed, to the next page. What happened was at some point in time, that covered porch became part of this bedroom. And that constitutes new floor area. And there is no permit on file showing the use of that enclosed porch as habitable floor area for that bedroom. And so now we're here to legalize it as habitable floor area. And since it's non-conforming to density, any kind of addition of habitable floor area does require a lot area modification. The project is in the non-appealable jurisdiction of the coastal zone overlay and is eligible for a coastal exemption that the applicant can apply for during the building permit plan check process. In terms of existing building and zoning violations, ENF 2016-01838 lists numerous building violations related to things like electrical issues and maintenance issues. This project would abate all of those violations. During the staff site visit, I did notice that there was some parking in unauthorized areas, so the applicant has also proposed including some stenciling indicating no parking in this area to abate that violation. The ABR did review this project on May 22nd of 2017 and approved the project, and like you said before, during the building permit plan check process, we realized that yes, this project did actually require a lot area modification. The stenciling and also an as-built fence for one of the units that's beneath this sunroom here has been noted since that ABR approval, and those things are eligible for an administrative review. So it's not expected that this project will return to the ABR either on the full or consent agendas. It's just a staff-level administrative review. Staff is supportive of this lot area modification, given that the approval to the proposed as-built configuration here has no change to the actual building footprint, as the enclosed porch was already approved by the city. There are no privacy impacts anticipated due to this addition because these windows here look out over the parking area and those detached carports. And the use of this porch also just makes this bedroom a bit more functional. Originally, it was a long rectilinear room, and now it's more square and easy to fit furniture in. The project is exempt from CEQA under categorical exemptions 15301, 15303, and 15305. The parcel is in an archaeological sensitive area. However, the development is all on the second floor, so we did not require any kinds of technical reports for CEQA review in this case. The project is Tier 2 in regards to stormwater management. And finally, staff has received no comments, questions, or inquiries via letters, emails, phone calls, or visitors coming to the public counter.
Okay, great, thank you. I don't have any questions for you right now. You already stated your name, Mark. Would you like to provide additional comments?
Sure. Well, she pretty much did a good job. She pretty much elucidated everything. It was like two little 4-bedroom complexes, and then in 61 they filled in the area in between, which made a drive-through. So they filled in underneath, and then they extended the front porch. And so there was windows here originally, and on the back, they had the balcony here with the wall at that point with a slider. And there was a bunch of other violations that were basically electrical cords and the electrical meters at the back, which we did a single line diagram to show how they function. And then Stephanie caught the little fence for this unit to create privacy on the lower floor that's underneath the sunroom here. And we had that approved by staff, ABR admin, a few weeks ago around Christmas. So everything's approved. I just have to do the Tier 2. The bedroom originally was like 8 feet on the inside, 8 feet 2, and then the 6 feet makes it like 14.2 by 12 feet. So it makes it definitely a more functional bedroom, and it's already was roofed, so it's not adding any new floor area as far as density is, it's just increasing the bedroom size, like she said.
So the original plan,
This is the picture of it, of the back of it.
so the original plan, was it an enclosed porch, or was it half wall, or did it have a wall with windows, or what was?
It had a slider here. This is what it showed. It showed originally windows at the front, and then it had a slider here with this wall, and then this was just pickets. So
Okay.
right along the back here was
Okay.
just like pickets
Okay,
with a handrail
okay.
at 3 feet, typical back then.
So it was enclosed. It was unenclosed.
It was unenclosed but roofed.
Okay, all right.
And when we did the structural on it, because we engineered the whole thing, it's built pretty shoddily. These 4x6s barely go over the plate, and there's just single floor joists going across, so there's no double floor joists anywhere, which made it, and there's nothing in the walls here that showed that there would have ever been, like a wall there. So it's interesting.
Okay.
It's the 60s.
All right, great, thank you. I don't have any further questions for you right now. I'd like to open the public hearing, seeing no one in the audience. Have we received any comments? No? Okay, so I'll close the public hearing. I did go out to the site and observe the same things you did as someone, just as I was coming in, pulled in and parked there. So it's,
That tenant there.
yeah, conducive to their unit, so I observed the same thing. But in terms of what your request is, the lot area modification, it pertains more to the density of the site. I understand that the footprint's not increasing any, and it's enclosing area that's already under the roof. That's all fine. Just the concern would be related to density. And in your instance, you're not increasing the number of bedrooms, you're just enlarging one, so it doesn't affect the density for the site. And, in terms of visual, it's really not an issue for the lot area modification, but it is in the rear of the site. In the design review board, did they look at this part of it?
Yeah, they looked
Or
at the
this-
whole thing, and their
Right.
only condition was that underneath here, to stucco it,
Well,
to
that's
clean it up, to flatten it out with like a, like a piece of plywood, and then stucco it so it blends in with the. But as far as the batten board and the windows, it was all approved as it was. It was just the roof itself up underneath to stucco it.
Okay, all right, yeah. So, like I said, it doesn't necessarily have to do with the lot area modification in itself, but, in terms of
And that's the front of
appropriate
it.
improvements. Yeah, it's a cute little building. Almost looks like an old hotel versus.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's good looking compared to some of the other ones in the neighborhood.
Fits the area, yeah. So, staff's not proposing any conditions, and I don't need to add any conditions. I would like to revise the findings slightly, just to reflect what I had said, and add it, although it does create new floor area, it doesn't change the density of the site. It just makes a existing bedroom bigger. Yeah, it does not increase the density or the overall number of bedrooms on the site. So just kind of reflect that part in the findings. So with our revised finding, I can approve your project. And my action is appealable to the Planning Commission within 10 calendar days. And they also have oversight authority of all my actions. And if they felt this warranted additional discussion before them, they could call it up during that same 10-day review period. And if either of those would occur, Stephanie would contact you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
And I adjourn the meeting.